Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. It's our women's stage 6 and I'm going to be in the studio for the start of today's action. My name is Matt Payne, but here all the way through with me for the start, it is Emma Martin. Emma, we've got a special stage today, but guess what? Yesterday seemed to be a bit of a cracker.
Oh, Matt, it was indeed. It's great to be here today. Hello to everybody who is tuning in. But yesterday's mountain stage, it was an epic. And Bauer in category 1 absolutely did the business, putting in a phenomenal final climb. And the fight between Loxley and Vink in category 4 was absolutely superb. So the epic mountain stage did not disappoint. And today, well, we've got something a little bit different.
We have indeed. Now, we have the time trial. Now, the time trial is going to be key because our riders have a shorter distance. This is 30 kilometers in distance. It is basically a straight out time trial where we start and finish at 2 different points. It's not a circuit. And we have 145 meters of elevation. Key, though, is that there is no drafting. The drafting switched off across the entire game, and that means that these riders are riding solo. That is going to be key because this is very much a case that this is the race of truth.
Now, Matt, that's really interesting because we do have a mass start. So each of the categories will start as normal altogether, but there is no draft. So what will that mean for the riders?
It means a number of things because it is going to affect the riders and how they ride. There is no advantage physically and in terms of time gaps and in terms of the draft advantage that we would normally see. So a 20, 30, 40% advantage of sitting in somebody's wheel, that means you can put out less power. The riders will have to put out the same power for the speed.
Yeah, so whereas normally in the group we see the person on the front perhaps doing 3 watts per kilo, the rider behind 2.8, the rider behind that 2.5, they're all going to have to be doing 3 watts per kilo to stay together.
Indeed, and that is going to be key here. Plus, as you can see, although we've got 145 meters of elevation in total, it is a relatively flat course here today. And that will affect how the riders ride this because our riders have got a very much different set of tactics to use, I think, during the course of the racing. Let's have a look at our riders here today and our teams in the racing. You can see that the category 4 riders are all lined up down there on time trial bikes. and that will give them the headset to be in the right place. Now let's have a look. The team pans the first team away.
Yeah, and this indeed contains Loxley and Vink. They may be teammates, and the team may be doing a phenomenal job with 5 riders placed in the top 6 in the categories today, been on GC. But it really has all been about Loxley and Vink.
And then we have the Psychoholic team.
Yeah, and Geraldo has been doing a phenomenal job, and Sarasuk both in the top 10 on GC.
And going to be wanting to hold on to those positions. We have a number of other individual riders in there, but let's take a look at where the awards went. Yesterday, Amy Loxley taking the stage and taking the mountain points, and we'll be taking away those rewards from stage 5. Ella Vink taking the sprint points on the way through to the finish, and it was very much a Vink and Loxley affair at the front of the racing. I've had the pleasure of watching it back after I finished the men's race. Please, guys, make sure that you go have a look at it. It's an absolute epic and well worth a watch. Now, our riders lined up, ready to go, as Emma says, one mass start. They're down on the line at the moment in category 4. Then we will have a gap to categories 3, 2, and 1.
So we are in on the start line with Vink. She put in a storming ride yesterday, but it was Loxley who triumphed in the big mountains at the end. It is still fairly close, 1 minute and 5 seconds separating first and second on GC at the moment, and that's Loxley and Vink. So they may be teammates, but there is all to play for today.
And I think that is going to really be the focus of today here as category 4 get ready to head out, and we are away. So our riders go out as one group with one start, but today is all about what can you do, not what can everybody else do.
Well, and it's going to be interesting. I think it is indeed Pelagio who goes out, but very, very quickly, Madeira, Tanglian, all coming up as well. These riders going out, Matt, and you know what? They are going for it from the gun.
And I think that for me is really, really key. This is something that I was expecting to see on the way in. And I think this will be a very different race.
Yeah. So Matt, you know, I have ridden time trials on esports platforms, individual time trials and team time trials, but it is not something that has appealed to me in real life. Whereas I know you, very much unlike me, have ridden time trials in many different forms in real life on the road. Talk to us a little bit about time trialing and what we want to be watching for today and what types of tactics these riders might be using.
Okay, so yes, indeed, I have ridden lots of different time trials. That is from everything from qualifying in the sprint and the track, which is a 200-meter time trial, right the way through 10 miles, which is 16K, through to 25 miles, 40K, right the way up to a 12-hour time trial. How far can you go in those 12 hours? And I think that was 240 something miles in that time. I think that was 11th at the national championships that year. But that was all with no draft. You are not allowed to sit behind a rider in real life. And in the UK, there is a big, long history. In fact, for a long time, it was the only form of cycle competition allowed on the road. So it very much became the de rigueur, the point where everybody started. My first time trial was a club time trial, and we raced over a 10-mile course, and we were only allowed a certain top gear. Now, the key for me here today is, with there being no draft, that the riders will need to have had a good warm up, because once you lose seconds in a time trial, they're lost. There's no advantage of sitting in a bunch. If you sit with a group, you're still going to do the same work.
Yeah.
So by being able to sit at a pace is key. Now there's two different tactics really for me. This course, the way that the course is, the biggest climb comes between the start and the top of the first big hill, which is at 6.9 kilometers. Now, if you can sit in the pace, and we can see Ella Vink here doing something that you're pretty good at, sitting on a heart rate, sitting there and kicking along, that is going to be key. And using the gears to allow you to sit in there. I think really interesting, Myra Madeira here is, I think, really kicking on hard here. I mean, we're seeing some higher watts per kilo here, and she's pushing well, but the heart rate just rising up slowly. So that for me indicates that she's still working hard. Key for me is going to be having some self-restraint, actually, because I think what it's going to be very tempting to do, because we've got the mass start, is to try and go with somebody who's potentially quicker than you. And I think that is going to be really tricky. So, got to remember that really key today, making sure you're in there. Now, I think for me, it's going to be a big day for GC, and it's that GC competition, the top 10, that is key.
Yeah, well, Vink, Madeira, Loxley, and Smithland are indeed our 1, 2, 3, 4 on GC in category 4, but they are not in the same order at the moment.
So let's take a look at what is up for grabs in terms of the prize money for the riders in category 4. And then remember, this is a battle for GC. So remember, today we have no sprint winners. We will have no King of the Mountains winner today, because today is a pure time trial. So the stage winner will take away $250, but then it's all about that individual classification and the team classification. And that team classification could well be why some of our riders will have to ride hard.
Yeah, so today I think there's two things I think that are really important today. One is the team classification and ensuring you are scoring points for your team. The second, if you take a look at that individual classification, it goes down to 10th place. And yes, 6th to 10th is the same prize money at $250, but then it all changes. And we are going to see, I think, riders thinking about and riding for the places in the top 10, not just the 1, 2, 3.
I would agree entirely. And today's day, you can make big time gaps, because this is very honest. It's called the race of truth for a reason, and for a big, big reason, because the race of truth is what it is. There's nowhere to hide in a time trial. You're sat there. This is your effort. This is about being able to sit at a pace. And this is going to be a relatively short time trial. 30 kilometers is going to be quick. These riders know that they're going to need to push on. But because we have these rises, we're hitting 1.6K at the moment. You can see that we are on the ascent of this slope. It's really, really going to be telling how these riders take the ascent up here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you take a look at that top right hand corner of your screen, viewers, now we often talk about, oh, look at the size of the blob, look at how the race is interacting and utilizing this top right hand screen. Take a look at that now. This is absolutely very, very different to what we have seen over the previous stages. It is one long, strung out line with gaps in between.
It is indeed. And where we're seeing this pass, we're seeing Musa Al Mansouri coming through here. So we're on a climb. We're on a 2.5% climb. Power to weight ratio now is going to be key in terms of how fast you ascend. When you're getting caught, you know somebody's coming behind you, or when you are catching somebody, there is always that temptation to push that little bit harder. Push yourself in the red zone, and that is true on a climb or for staying beside a rider, and you will be in trouble. Now, what we should see, if these riders are riding it smart, is that they will be slower on the ascent, that they won't dig too deep going in the ascent, that they go into the red zone, but then they come out of the far side down into the descent, and they do not lose power, because you will lose absolutely buckets of time here. Pushing and resting in a time trial, whilst it might suit your physiology, and it certainly used to suit mine, it's not the most effective, it's not the most efficient way of doing that.
Yeah, so it is a constant pace that's required regardless of the terrain. And it's very interesting there. We've just seen Amansori overtake and move past riders. We've also just seen Loxley come through and overtake Madeira on this climb as well. So Vink now in 1, Loxley in 2, Madeira in 3, Smithson in 4. And this is all going to be about the gap that Ella Vink can put in over Amy Loxley today. And currently, with 7 minutes of racing, that's around 14 seconds.
Yep, and what we're going to see here, so for me, really interesting. Amy Loxley has pushed up to 3.2, 3.4 watts per kilo. Loxley has just come over the top of one of the stepped ramps of this climb. It's going to level, it's going to kick again, and she is really pushing in this climb. Now, if you are great as a king or queen of the mountains, if you're great on those climbs, and if you can really push in deep and know how deep you're going, you can use that to gain time back or to gain time on your competition on those steep sections. But, and it is a massive, massive, massive but, you can pick up much more pace by accelerating over the top and accelerating away.
Yeah, now it is a Real fight between Loxley and Vink. Not only 1-2 on GC. Vink is wearing the green jersey, indicating she's the leader in the sprint competition. Loxley is in third in that competition, but Loxley is in the lead in the mountains competition, but just 1 point back in that competition is Ella Vink. So not just today and GC important for these two. Tomorrow, with the 2 climbs and the 5 sprints, it is going to be to the line on the final stage for these two.
It is, and at the moment, Ella Vink has got a lead of what is about, it's going to be about 12, 13 seconds, I think, at the moment on Amy Loxley. She needs to pull back to take the lead at the moment, 1 minute and 5. So at the moment, Vink is accelerating up. She's got herself a gap. Loxley is trying to hold that gap, and this is Vink's opportunity to reduce, if not negate, the previous 5 stages in terms of GC. She could do this in 1 ride today, and there is no way that Loxley can combat that other than with her own effort.
Well, I do think it's interesting, Matt, because Loxley's taken the win on the 2 big mountain stages. Vink took the win on the flatter stages early on because she is such a fantastic sprinter. So tomorrow is not a big mountain stage. So technically, it should favour Vink.
It should, but this part of the course should favour Loxley. And this is the climb. This is the biggest climb. Remember, until we get to about 6.9k, 7 kilometres in, we are going to be ascending the biggest climb of the day. There's 145 metres in climbing in total. At the moment, Ella Vink has opened up what is 15 seconds, and he's being held at 15 seconds by the efforts of Loxley. Loxley on these steep slopes wants to bring this gap down, because if it goes to form, I think we will see Vink open up more time on the second half of the course and on the descents than Loxley is going to take on this ascent. And it's all down to that balance. And this is why Loxley has to really play race to her strengths. And we say that time and time again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a little bit further back down the field, Amansori is doing her thing here. She's gone past Poulton. She's gone past Pelagio. Smithson is the next rider in her sights, but they are pretty well matched. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Musa Almansori currently sat in 5th place on GC. She's 33 minutes down on Loxley. Some way off the pace, but still everything to fight for in the competition.
There is, and I really do think that Musa Al-Mansouri is doing a good ride here, and he's pushing on now. She can't score in a team competition. She's riding as an individual. But what this will do is this will push her closer. And remember, of course, that this is a long way, and we do see in time trials riders blow that they go too deep. And if somebody goes too deep on this first climb and really puts themselves in trouble, and if they don't have a good enough warm up, as they come over the far side from 7k, basically all the way to 30k, they could be paying the price, and that is a long way to lose time.
Yeah, it is one of those things, isn't it? It isn't over until you cross the line, and you've got to cross the line tomorrow for it to be finished. So all to play for still.
Let's go and have a look at our Category 3 riders. Remember, our Category 3 riders, the teams in the team competition still fighting. Mr. Worldwide team there.
Yeah, and Carmona is the rider in yellow. She's also the leader of the youth competition in this Category 3. So strong, strong riding. Kabanaton and Tandingen also putting in some great performances.
Indeed, and the next of our team is the Maniacs team. Great team riding by them, and they've got a lot of riders in the top 10.
Yeah, they do indeed. You know, Walkenhurst currently lying in second, Barragan currently lying in 6th, and also wearing that Masters jersey.
Yeah, Botero in 8th, and I think Zabar sitting in 9th place. The Maniacs have a lot to race for today.
They do indeed.
Now, the Feisty Cats team, well, I think for me, their standout rider really is Jenny Tan with her performance in the sprint competition. Not confirmed yet. She is in the lead. She's not got that sewn up, so that's going to be a really interesting day tomorrow. But in terms of GC, she is in 3rd place and has some time gaps pretty close between her and 4th place.
Yeah, so it is interesting indeed as we just take a look at the results of those jerseys on stage five. So in stage five, Walkenhurst took the yellow, Carolus took the green for the sprint, Carmona the under 23 jersey, also wearing the polka dot jersey for Queen of the Mountains, and Barragan in that Masters jersey.
And that is for stage five run the overall. So that is yesterday's winner, Walkenhurst. Yesterday's sprint winner, taking away that sprint prize for the day, Carolus, and Kimona taking away the prize for the mountains yesterday. Remember, today, no mountains, no sprint prizes. It's all about that stage result and how that is going to affect GC, but also to a degree, it's how hard do you ride if you are going to be fighting for sprint points and it is close, for example, in maybe second and third place. Maybe you can challenge for the win. You're going to be thinking about that. And tomorrow we've got sprints and mountains. So today, as the previous stages have done, it will affect what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, and this Category 3 competition, Matt, first place currently held by Carmona, the leader in the youth competition, 2 minutes and 3 seconds back to Walkenhurst in second place. Then we've got a big gap of over 14 minutes back to third, but then things get tighter. 2 minutes to fourth, 1 minute to fifth, 2 minutes to sixth. So I think we're going to see in this category perhaps some changes lower down the standings.
I think that is going to be very, very much the case. And I think the battle between what is going to be third and fourth place, and fourth and fifth place, and fifth and sixth place could well be a big shake-up in there. It's a little bit harder between second and third. I think that is pretty secure. But first and second is going to be very, very tight indeed. That's going to be a really interesting battle between Walkenhurst and Carmona, the youngster. And traditionally, people do get better at time trialing the older they get in terms of pacing.
Yeah, and that challenge not to go off too hard from Kimona, I think, is going to be absolutely key today.
So our riders ready to go in our category 3 time trial. They have 30 kilometers, 145 meters, and we are go. The riders are heading out from the pens, and this is about that time. It's about how fast you get up to speed and how hard do you kick coming out. Remember, no draft advantage, but getting up to the pace that you are comfortable with is a very much a fine art form here, because you can gain or lose seconds and they are won and lost. There is no benefit of staying with the group. This is about making sure you get to your speed as fast as possible. If you cover the first half a K subpar and you don't go as quick as you could lose to the tune of 5-10 seconds there very easily. It's very easily done from the start pen.
And I was going to say, and that's about getting momentum and getting your speed up really, really quickly. Because once you are at the speed you want to travel at, then you can settle down and settle in. And we've seen that from Jenny Tan. Jenny Tan kicked it around 4.5 watts per kilo out of the start pen. She's now settling down a little, though, whilst I'm talking, she's pushing on actually. Maybe Tan may be paying for that later because she is going out really quite hot in this Category 3 race in comparison to some of the other riders. Now, the question is, are they being more reserved on the start and keeping their powder dry, so to speak? And will Tan pay for that, or will she settle down very quickly?
And there are a number of ways that you can race this as well. Remember, of course, some people, we know that Jenny Tan has got a kick because she is leading in that sprints competition. Now, if you are a sprinter physiology, if you are more likely to be able to sprint and recover, it may well be that you've worked out it pays to kick from the start line, kick on every steep section of the rise and recover on the flatter sections. And you may be able to do that 10, 15, 20 times in this 30K.
Yeah. What about negative splits, Matt? What about going out slower and finishing
Okay.
faster?
So there is definitely a school of thought that says having a negative split is the way to go. So basically, what you would do is you would divide in your head the halfway point, potentially in time or distance on the course. You would work out that you want to go at a steadier pace, and then you go harder at the end. Now, this, in theory, works great, but, and it's a massive but, the overriding rule of once you lose time, you have to get that time back. It's very rare at the level of competition we are at, or in fact, in any time trial, that people lose time later on. If they very rarely blow to lose big time, they generally will be able to sit at the pace. And because there is zero draft, there's no bunch benefit. And I personally think that a negative split doesn't work very well on a bike time trial. It may well work in running where you've got a lot of psychological and you've got lower speeds. But when you are talking about the speed on the bike, when you're talking about 40K, it's not quite so critical, I don't think. And I think for me, because of the distances involved, because of the times involved, and it's 30K, not for me. I mean, I have done it. I've done famously my 50-mile time trial time. My second 25-mile split is faster than me just riding 25 miles solo on its own. So if I do a 25-mile time trial, I've gone faster in the second half of a 50-mile
It's
time
because
trial
you've
than the
warmed up.
first. Well, clearly I didn't have enough warm-up on the way through, but the distance also does affect people and the time involved. So some people are good at 20-minute efforts, 30-minute efforts. Other people are good at an hour. Some people can be good at 20-minute efforts and good at 2-hour efforts. But the bit in the middle is their dead zone.
Well, let's not forget, this is indeed stage 6 of the MyWhoosh Championship. So 5 stages of racing already in their legs. Along
Yep.
with that rest day is 6 days of this championships, and I'm sure that's going to have some effect for these riders. So as we take a look at this category 3 group, Tan in 1, that is indeed that is indeed Agudelo in 2, and then Tandingen and Walkenhurst. And the noticeable missing rider here is Carmona, our leader at the moment. Now, thinking she's got that 2-minute gap, I'm wondering whether she's taking this easy at the start. But currently, Walkenhurst around 15 seconds ahead of Carmona, and that is the competition.
It is indeed. And let's see what they are racing for here today, because, of course, our Category 3 Riders' Prize Money, it's ramped up from 2. So remember, no prize money today for the sprint winner or the mountains winner. There is $500 for today's stage winner. And just as importantly, you can see first to second place separated by $1,000 in that classification overall. That would make me pedal pretty quick.
That's worth 2 minutes, I think.
That's worth a lot more than 2 minutes, I'll tell you.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? So 5,000 through to $500 in that individual classification, and those lower categories in that, so sort of third to fourth, fourth to fifth, fifth to sixth, definitely worth the race today. And that, I think, is where we are going to see any or the most movement. I may be eating my hat at the end, and Walkenhurst may have the bit between her teeth, but we are going to see as this race and this time trial unfolds.
Well, Carmona has a lead of 2 minutes and 3 seconds. And I think one of the key things for me here, that Carmona has gone off relatively steady on what is a hilly part of the course. And she's leading the mountains, but she had a very tough day
Yeah.
yesterday. And your powers of recuperation, in theory, are better when you're young, but you have more stamina when you're old. And this is a real balance. And what we don't know, of course, is what's happened overnight. So, for example, if you've had a great night's sleep, you've had loads of rest, you've had a great massage, that just like you normally do, you got all the lactic acid out, you had a perfect warm up, that is worth a lot of time versus somebody who maybe had a restless night's sleep, maybe it was warm, maybe the air conditioning was noisy, it broke down halfway through, the dog was barking all night long. That can make a massive difference, can't it?
Well, we switch over to the Category 4 race, and we said this is going to be a battle between Vink and Loxley. Vink still out in first in this team time trial, in the time trial at the moment, with her teammate Amy Loxley behind in 2. That gap now gone out to 35 seconds. Now, just a reminder to our viewers, it's a 1 minute and 5 second gap between first and second in the Category 4 race, and it's Loxley in 1 on GC and Vink in 2. But Vink, we are only 12K into this 30-kilometer time trial, and Vink has already pulled back 30 seconds.
She has, but she has just come down the big descent off the mountain as well. So by pushing through there, I think that will have helped. But you can see at the moment, Loxley really is looking at that, thinking, I need to pick the pace, but it's yo-yoing a bit from both these riders. And what we've got to remember is this is not done on a set of rollers with zero resistance. This is done on a smart turbo trainer, which will increase the resistance when we go uphill. So the riders will have to work through their gears. And for me, having the correct gear selection today is really, really critical. Now, has Jenny Tan got that? Is she able to sit at a steady cadence? And that's the other indicator for me. Riders have a range of cadence. So some people have a lot of what's called souplesse. Is the old school term for it. Is basically they're very flexible in their rev range, so they can run quite a big jump from one gear to another when they go from one to another gear, because they can flick up and down efficiently and still get the power down. It's not going to be able to do it and not put the power down. You've got to be able to get the power down as well. Some riders are better sitting at one particular or a narrow range of pedal revs, and that's much more efficient for them. And by doing that, they can ride. So what you would be looking at, I would be looking at this course and going, right, what's my easiest gear I'm going to need? And how long do I need it for? Put that as my first gear, and then have as close a set of cogs at the back of the bike together on the turbo as you could get, because, or setting it up on the spot so it has that, because very much the case that then gives you a much more efficient riding style.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? But just coming into this Category 3 race, we talked about the 1-2 here. Carmona in 1, Walkenhorst in 2 on GC, separated by 2 minutes and 3 seconds. And now we would be going in today thinking that's an unassailable gap. But Walkenhorst currently 30 seconds ahead of Carmona. And we are just coming up for the 5-kilometre mark in this 30-kilometre time trial.
And it does worry me. It worries me for Carmona at the moment, because that is a big, big gap, and it is opening up already. And this is in terrain that I would have thought would suit Carmona. Now, look at Carmona's revs here, 63, 65 revs per minute. And it may be that she's falling. It's really easy. In the UK, it's known as time trial legs, time trial pace and cadence. It's very, very much, you sit there and you just churn this big monster gear around. And what's actually happening is you are really, really losing ground. And people do it. They ride in a group of revs of 80, 90, 100 revs per minute. They move into a solo ride, and all of a sudden they go 2 or 3 gears bigger and they rev at 60, and they're losing time. Look at the difference. Look at Vince. She's still holding 76. 75, 76, and that is still going solo. And that is showing for me that Carmona, I think, is not on a good day here. Carmona does not normally pedal that gear range and that cadence. She's heart rate's up, but for me, put it down a gear, start spinning, get the rhythm back. There's 30k. She's 5k in. She's got to get a reset fast, I think, here.
Yeah, well, it is about resetting, isn't it? Well, I say that the gradient currently under Carmona's wheels is coming up for 3%, so she is on that climbing section. And I think she's listening to you, Matt, because that cadence is now ticking up. It's now 74. She's dropped it a gear, and she is lifting.
She's so fit. She is a fit athlete, and use that fitness. The key indicator, the guide I always used to go back for in the very dim, dark, early morning, starting a time trial at 4 o'clock in the morning, and whatever stupid times they were. If your legs hurt, you're
use
pushing
your lungs.
to bigger gear. If your lungs hurt, you need to use a higher gear, a bigger gear. If they both hurt, you're doing it just right.
Well, talk about doing it just right. We are just dropping in to the Category 2 start line with just over 3 minutes to go. Now, this, I think, is going to be a really, really interesting day.
It is indeed, because we have a great team competition, the strong women's team, and they are riding really, really well. And I think, for me, the strong women's team, with 5th and 6th places in the top 10 and a 10th place for Strom in there, that's going to be really interesting, that fight between them. And I think we could see some surprises here.
Well, Blue Forest Racing, the next team on your screen, and these guys have got first and second place overall in the competition on GC at the moment, with Shepherd and Coinston in. So this is going to be a team really out for the win today.
And Samara Shepherd has got a background, I think, that could well see her benefit here today.
Well, that is it, isn't it? So we will see this play out today. Beast Mode powered by Rose on the screen, Miller, Zimmerman, and Daniel all on the top 10 on GC and putting in some great performances as well.
So let's see who is going to come up on the top. Will it be the free riders who come out on top as they go through? They've got some great riders in here. And, I'm going to be really interested to see how they play this, whether they play this safe and they take a steady approach to this, whether or not they decide that they're going to really go for it.
Yeah, so really interesting to see what happens today.
And let's take a look at what happened yesterday. So yesterday, Samara Shepherd took the second of her stage wins after taking second place on stage 3, a win in stage 4 and 5. She's got the yellow jersey. She held on to that. She also took the polka dot jersey yesterday in the mountains competition for the day. She did not manage to take the sprint or the Masters. Both those, of course, going to Socorro Lopez. Lopez with a big, big points lead. Not quite enough. I make it that she's 1 point off on the sprint. So tomorrow, that is going to be very interesting indeed. So the riders are lined up, are ready to go. Let's hear the riders as they set off with Ursula Bardeskaya here. So the riders are ready to go. 46 seconds to go. So here we are, category 3, 46, 40 seconds. The countdown on, for category 2 here in the green. The riders are moving away in very short order. They're starting to wind up. You can just see the pace is picking up. The revs is picking up. Great to see Bardeskaya here. Interesting technique here. Really winding this up as they're getting ready to go. So here we are. We have the revs up, the power's coming up. This is the way to kick off from the start. Be sat and going. Your time trial starts at 30 seconds to go. Not on that go time, but this is the moment when we're going to see them explode out from the gate and get up to speed. Who has got this start right? Who is going to maximize their time here? Very interesting to see these riders now. We're riding in with Bardeskaya. We saw that she was sitting at 100 revs. That heart rate was there. Now it's acceleration time. The speed is picking up steadily here. It's not rocketing up, and I think this is a very smart start by these riders here. We're not seeing anybody going too crazy. We're just seeing Coiston and picking the pace up here and just getting the bike up to speed. Shepherd is right up there as well. So very tight at the front.
Yeah, absolutely. And they have all gone out at quite a consistent pace. They have moved through and are now settling down very comfortably. So Lopez, Constantine, they are up here. So is Shepherd, all in a line here. 3 riders pushing on and steadying up the ride, settling into this time trial. So Constantine is our rider, second on GC. Shepherd is in first place on GC. So these 2 riders neck and neck together at the moment and seriously watching each other.
They are really interesting technique coming through now as these riders sit in the bush. And the only advantage actually of riding with the group together is that you've got that psychological advantage. You've got somebody setting the pace for you. And that is worth some energy because you know that if you stay with them, you can just hold their pace. And that is, I think it's an interesting tactic. I've used it before, and I've actually used it to pull out a better performance by sitting in and judging my pace to a rider. So judging 25, 30 meters behind a rider in the UK and staying with them and just letting them just give me the added little motivation.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting here, Matt, is that in the other 2 categories, they've gone out, they've set their pace, and they've They've settled into it quite quickly, and it's been a consistent pace. This is changing. This is pushing on. This is kicking up. We've seen 5.5 watts per kilo. Samara Shepherd at the moment at 5.5, dropping to 3, dropping to 5.6. It is bouncing all over the moment. They are actually racing each other rather than time trialing, which is quite interesting because this is the first category that has utilized this type of approach. The others have very much considered it to be an individual time trial. They've set their individual watts per kilo that they want to ride to, and they've executed that. This is a bit different.
It is indeed, and I think it's going to be interesting to see who can take this, who's going to use this tactic to their advantage, and who maybe will get this wrong. They're racing for even more prize money, of course, than Category 3. Category 2 prize money is bigger. We have the prize as well. From first to fifth, it drops from $7,500 in the overall classification to $1,500 and $750 for the stage winner. It's a lot riding on this today.
Yeah, and those places are really important. And now there are some big time gaps between first and second. So 3 minutes 32 separating first and second in category two. Then it is 1 minute and 4 from second to third, 35 seconds from third to fourth, 2 minutes and 6 to fifth, and then 42 seconds back to sixth place. So I think we are going to see, as I mentioned right at the start, some real fighting for the lower places, and it's going to be very interesting to see whether Shepherd can stay towards the front here and stay clear.
So our next rider that we're just taking a look at here, this is Musa Al Mansouri here, who's the rider sitting in seventh position in the racing at the moment, Emma, and currently just over half race distance.
Yeah, absolutely. So 30 kilometres on stage six. This is an individual time trial of the MyWhoosh Championships. One more stage to go tomorrow, 30 kilometres today, 145 metres of elevation. So a fairly flat time trial. And our category four riders were the first riders underway. These riders now into the second half of this day.
They are indeed really interesting watching these riders and keeping on moving in here.
Yeah, so Vinkmat currently in the lead in the time trial today, Loxley in two. There was 1 minute and 5 seconds going into today with Loxley leading Vink, and I think Vink is stretching her lead now, and she is nearly out to the minute mark.
She is indeed great action here. Vinka looking to try and take this away now. Vinka coming off 20k, and that means that 19.4. She's just come down off the second of the hills. It was nowhere near as big as the first, but she's now onto a long flat section. It's fractionally uphill. You see, just making her way down that dip. Now Musa Mansouri pushing on here, and you can just see the time trial technique from a really good here. She's sat on the back of Tangilon here and holding her at the moment. So really interesting to see.
Well, I tell you what is interesting is Pelagio has come past. She has had issues, and well, she didn't have issues. She was further back at the start, and she's coming through strong now. Madeira, who had the early lead, Vink and Loxley then came past, is now in third place. Pelagio in fourth, Smithson in five, but it is getting tight in these areas. So Vink in one. Loxley in two, Madeira in three, Pelagio four, Smithson five, Tanglian six, Almansori in seventh, and they are switching places backwards and forwards.
This is great racing between these two, Emma, isn't it?
It's brilliant
to see. And I'll tell you something, this is really hard to pace. And I think there's some serious motivation going on between these two riders here.
Well, yeah, Musa Al Mansouri and Rona Tanglian at the moment really battling it out in sixth and seventh at the moment, pretty much reflecting the fight going on between first and second with Loxley and Vink. So Al Mansouri fifth on GC, Rona Tanglian seventh on GC. So this is category four of the MyWhoosh Championships. We are on stage six today. Stage 6 is an individual time trial, and we are seeing gaps right the way through the field. And this is so interesting, so very, very different from what we have seen before. As we drop in with category 3, our category 3 close at the front. So we have Agudela here currently in 7th place on GC, with Tandingen currently 4th on GC. These two absolutely switching through and off in the lead. Now, Walkenhurst is the rider in 3rd place here. And this is the interesting battle for the lead, because Carmona is now nearly a minute behind. So just over 12.5 kilometres into this category 3 race, Carmona came into this time trial 2 minutes and 3 seconds clear of Walkenhurst, but in less than half distance, Walkenhurst has put in a minute and 7 seconds on Carmona. Now, if she can continue at this pace and continue to extend this gap, Walkenhurst will take the lead on GC from Carmona going into the final stage. But that is a big ask. There is still a significant proportion of this individual time trial left for Walkenhurst to execute that. Now, in category 2, they are coming up for the 5-kilometre mark, and Constantine is the rider pushing on. Samara Shepherd, our yellow jersey, is the rider pushing to stay in. They are on a small climb at the moment, around 3.4%. And these watts per kilo matter still exceptionally high in this race. So Constantine Shepherd, 3 seconds to Lopez, 14 seconds to Engstrom, 18 seconds to Hermassen. These gaps are still really, really close. And we have said at the start, this is a close competition in category 2. Whilst there may be 3 minutes 32 seconds separating first and second, which is indeed Shepherd and Constantine, it is much, much closer behind. So 1 minute and 4 back to third, from third to fourth, 35 seconds, from fourth to fifth, 2 minutes, and from fifth to sixth, 42 seconds. So some of these riders here have all to play for.
Yep, Lopez to Miller, 3rd to 4th, 35 seconds, the closest gap. And at the moment, Lopez opening up that gap and reinforcing her position there. Now, one of the ways that you could ride this to minimize your effort, know where your top limit is. Know where that is, but then make sure that what you do is you actually just set the pace of the rider that you want to keep an eye on, or riders in that group. Really interesting way of doing it. And it means that you then are saving energy for tomorrow. And one of the things the stage racers will always tell you is that you save energy wherever you can. You do the minimum amount that you need to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. So Parrot here, we are indeed watching Angie Parrot at the moment. Parrot has been having a good race, but interesting to see where she currently is in this list of riders in the time trial. So Parrot currently sat in 6th position. So that is indeed, she's got 42 seconds on 5th. Well, she's 42 seconds behind 5th place on GC, and 5th place is Hermassen. And as we can see, Lisa Hermassen is significantly in front. She's further up the road there, around 36 seconds ahead of Angie Parra. So Hermassen cementing that 5th place at the moment. 4th place is Kimberly Miller. So again, these riders all in this bunch. So we can see this is we've always said category 2 is such a tightly matched group. And I think we are seeing that play out today.
We are. I was just taking a little bit of a look, actually, Emma, there, whilst you were just summing that up there. The differences between Angie Parra in 6th place and 7th place, Joanna Zimmerman. The gap there, only 39 seconds between 6th and 7th. So, and at the moment, I think Zimmerman is in front of Parra at the moment. I would have thought this would suit Parra. So let's keep our eye on categories 4, 3, 2, and of course category 1, which will be our next set of riders underway. Don't forget, of course, if you're watching live on YouTube, you can always jump on the comments on there. We always love to see what you're up to. Don't forget, of course, to get in touch with us on the social media. You can get in touch with Emma at Biking, Emma, myself at Matt Fixer Painter. And of course, make sure you tag in with those pictures at MyWhoosh as well. Now, in with Category 1 riders. And these riders, well, I think there's one rider that we don't need to worry about being up in the front, but we'll come to that in a moment. Let's run through our teams first. The Risky Biscuits team have 4 riders in the top 10 at the moment. They are absolutely superb, but their riders are very close together. And now is a chance to not necessarily follow team orders unless they're being told to rest for tomorrow. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they go on with it. The highest rider is Gerardo Arias in third place, but good, strong strength from them. The Asian Watts team, well, Kekkonen at the moment in 6th place overall, currently chasing 5th place. And the gap, though, is substantial, so they're going to need a big effort today, but they won't want to lose any time either, particularly in that team competition.
Well, for me, Matt, this Category 1 time trial is all about this team competition. As we just take a look at the Golden Wheels squad, now we know these have been the Golden Wheels sprint squad because they have been putting in phenomenal performances in that sprint competition. And Jenny Sanchez looking like she's absolutely got that sewn up and will be taking that green jersey across the line as long as she finishes tomorrow.
So today, for me, Jenny Sanchez should be just riding this through to the end, not putting in too much effort, and making sure that she can get to the end in one piece. So you can see yesterday's result. Jojo Bauer, the stage victor, yesterday extended her lead at the top of the standings as well. She also took the lead in the mountains in terms of the day, but not taking the overall. So a good day result for her. Jenny Sanchez with the day sprint win, which helps her cement the win in it overall. We've got Santiago holding on to the under 23 our youth jersey in that Golden Wheels squad. So the Golden Wheels team with a jersey as well in the youth as well as in the sprints competition. So for a team of 3, they are doing really well. 2 out of 3 riders have jerseys. And I'll tell you something, Julie Sanchez must feel like a real domestic, but she's actually the highest rider of the 3 in the overall. What great racing from them.
Absolutely, doing phenomenally. Now, for me, Matt, this is an interesting race today in this individual time trial for Category 1 because if you look at GC, you would think it's already sewn up. So between first and second, 8 minutes 20. You know, Bauer over her teammate Brogan, 8 minutes 20.
I shouldn't laugh, but you know what? That is the sort of lead that you would dream of, isn't it, Emma?
3:55 back to third. So big, big time gaps here. For me, this is about the team competition because just 14 minutes separating team 1 and team 2. And when you think that's the cumulative time of your top 3 riders, this is really important today. So 9 seconds to go. We are on countdown for the Category 1 women on stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships. Today is the individual time trial bikes, and no draft on the course today at all for these women. So it is absolutely individual effort that counts as they come out of the start pen and up to speed. And Bauer absolutely saying, I'm the leader, I'm in the yellow jersey, I am going to lead you out on the individual time trial. Follow me.
And there's 2 ways I think that Jojo Bauer could play it. And I think I'm pretty sure which of those she's doing already. Because one option would be to play today safe. And that would be to ride and literally just mark out the rider in second place. That's her teammate, and that's Gemma Brogan. Bearing in mind that to somebody who isn't in her team, she is 12 minutes 15 clear. Play it safe, save your energy for tomorrow. But, and this is a big but, the other option is to go and cement an even bigger time gap because there is always the chance that she will have an issue on the last day and that there may be something out of her control. Now, I can't for one moment imagine that we are going to see Jojo Bauer have a physical issue that because she's not strong enough or not brave enough or not got big enough legs. She's absolutely phenomenal athlete. But there's always a chance of mechanical. Snap bar, snap your crank, something like that. Something that takes time to fix, break a chain. Where you're at the side of the road, the time of your lead is disappearing, and you've got to get it fixed. You then jump back on board. Bigger the time gap you've got, the more margin for problems you can deal with.
Well, and to be honest, Matt, probably better to have a harder hour today and then have an easier day tomorrow than to try and ride it the other way around because you put in the wrong tactic on the individual time trial. So, really interesting to see Bauer leading out that time trial in the category one. And I think it really is the time gaps that are going to be important in category one, particularly for that team competition.
It is indeed, and I think that's going to be really, really telling as these riders go through. Yeah, we're with Jojo Bauer here, who's opening up that time gap. It really is stretching here. Now, Donny Fua and Bjarhed are in here. And I tell you something, I think Catherine Fua, this could be her day. I've seen her ride, and I'm sure you have as well, very, very strongly, individually in the Sunday Race Club. And that, I think, is where she has that strength. She often is riding on her own. And I think she's so experienced at this. This could be her day. It could be a podium day for her. She could be top three.
Well, I think Donny Fur and Bjarhed, they are all three from the Risky Biscuits. This is the three of them saying, come on, this is time to cement the team win.
Well, I'll tell you something, that would be a really good result for them. Just taking a look back at Ella Vink here on the right-hand side. She's the leader in your chasing category. You're the rider well clear at the front of the races. So it's Vink from Loxley, a real interesting battle in that. And as you can see, she's coming up to the 28-kilometre marker. So she's on the run for home. Now, the last part of this course is an ascent and then a descent. You can see she's just starting on the final part of that climb. So this really, really interesting here. Vink has got the gap on Loxley, and I'm just looking at that gap. That looks to me to be over a minute at the moment for
Yeah,
Vink.
I'm looking at Vink's time there. So 3 kilometres to go for category four, and Vink is still in that P1 position. The current time over Amy Loxley, our yellow jersey wearer, so first on GC, is looking to me to be around 1:20 on Vink, between Vink and Loxley, which would indeed put Vink currently the yellow jersey on the road.
And this is going to come down to what Loxley and Vink can do in these last few kilometres. Who's going to go in wearing that yellow jersey into the final stage, stage number 7 on day 8. So category 4 coming to the first rider coming into towards the finish. Vink pushing on now, and she's got to get over this climb here. So she's got to go up and over this this raise in the road and then drop down the other side. The last 400 meters of the course are downhill, and that is going to make things difficult for the riders because they've got to push over the top and they've got to really run through those gears. And it could well be that a sprint in those last 400 meters could be the difference between going into the last stage in yellow and being in second place.
Well, we did see in the men's race the other day, the last 700 metres being the deciding factor. And it could well be here that the last couple of kilometres are as well, because it's about, can you keep it going to the finish line? Can you push on and bring any of the seconds back? Because this is seconds between Vink and Loxley, and that is what is important. On the left-hand side of your screen, Bauer has gone out. Donny is still in 2. So the Risky Biscuits absolutely trying to win the team competition today. But now it is all about this battle between Vink and Loxley, because take a look at this. So Vink in 1, 2 kilometres to go. Loxley in 2. It is 1 minute 20 seconds. 1:05 is the time gap between them. So currently Vink is in yellow by 15 seconds, but there is 2 kilometres to go.
And this is that final push on. She's really got to move now because with 2K to go, this is a big, big moment for Ella Vink. Ella Vink took the first 3 stage wins. Loxley took the stages 4 and 5. When we hit the mountains, this is a Vink's chance to wrestle back that yellow jersey. It's only been worn by 2 people overall. Vink for the first 3 stages. She wore it into stage 4, but then she had it wrestled off her by Loxley. Loxley on the left of your screen. Vink on the right of your screen. And this is where Loxley's got to respond. She has to try and take this back. She won't want to go in with a deficit into the stage. She will want to be wearing yellow on the last stage of the MyWhoosh Championship. And this is where it counts. Just over 2 kilometers to go for Loxley. Meanwhile, Vink is up the road. She's got to really keep on pushing. The pair of them, though, they are going to come in inside the hour, I think, here very comfortably and are really working hard. And Vink coming up to the Elephant Rock here. So a real key moment on the course as well. So you can see the riders will go between the trunk and the feet of the elephant here as it goes in and through the rock. Absolutely classic part of the scenery out in Alula, and a great part of the course to ride. Not a great part of the course at the moment for Vink and Luxley. They are going to be in all sorts of pain, and if they can even see anything now, I'll be very surprised.
Well, it's about seeing the finish line, and that is all that is important, and that is all that is in Ella Vink's head at the moment. She is coming up towards 800 meters to go. So Vink in one, Loxley in two. The gap is holding. In fact, the gap is going out slightly at the moment as Vink picks up the pace. Mindful they are on different parts of the course at the moment. Vink on a slight uphill section. Loxley will be on a slight downhill section. So different parts of the course. As Vink kicks, she's kicking for that finish line, you know. She's got 600 meters to go. She's going to swoop round this right-hand bend. Loxley is on the other side of your screen. She's on the left-hand side of your screen. She's coming up to that archway on Elephant Rock, but it is going to be Vink, I think, who sees that finish banner first, and then it's all about the time and what time can Loxley do.
And that is going to be key now. Vink knows she can just give everything. This is all she has to do. She has to just power down for the final 350 meters of this course. She's dropping at the moment, and this is the run down, making the most of this. Remember, most riders can sprint for about 200 meters, but at the end of a time trial, that can sometimes be a sprint too far. But look at this. She's continuing to push. She's up to 4.5 watts per kilo now. This is about the run for the line. This is what can Vink do. She's putting in that kick now. This is that last little dig. She's going to put the time in, and Loxley's coming behind her. What can Loxley do about this? Loxley has to answer the time that's going to be set by Vink. Vink goes in and over the line. She sets the fastest time of the day, but can Loxley keep her within her grasp?
Well, that is the key question at the moment. So Vink comes over in one in this individual time trial. Loxley is the next rider to come in, and she is all about the time gap from Ella Vink to her. She's coming up for 650 meters to go. She's going to sweep round this right hand bend, and then she is going to see that finish line in front of her. Madeira is the rider in three. She is some way back down the course. She is continuing to push on and continuing to work third place on GC going into this stage today.
So let's see what we get out of these riders. Loxley now on that final run, and this is really key for the competition here. This is for that yellow jersey going into the final stage. And this is going to be really key to see who can take that away, who's got that psychological advantage. Remember, it's a rolling stage. It's essentially got just undulations and steep ramps in it. There's no big mountains, and it is really going to be close. I think this is setting us up for a grandstand finish. So Vink at the moment in and through the line. Loxley has now got the final few hundred meters. This is about Loxley having anything left. She's got to sprint for this line. Every second will count. Is there anything left in the bank here? I think she's on the absolute limit here. She's winding it up, but this is a very, very big push from her. She's given it everything here today. Amy Loxley pushing for the line. Remember, the time gap we're looking for is going to be 1 minute and 5 seconds. Loxley goes through the line. What's her time going to be? We're waiting for it to come up on the screens. It's going to be absolutely key to the destination of that jersey going into our final stage and setting us up for that finish.
Well, let's remember that these will be live results today, and they are live until they are verified
Here we
after the
go.
event.
So look at that. The time is in here. It is going to be substantial. Is it substantial enough? I think it is. We're just waiting for the time gap to show.
Well, the time gap was indeed 1:05 between first and second. It was Loxley in one, Vink in two. On my screen in front of me, I've got a gap of 1 minute 47. Yep, it is
Oh,
indeed. So the yellow jersey will switch to Vink's shoulders going into tomorrow's stage, and the time gap 42 seconds to Loxley.
now the gap between second and third place in this race was substantial, and I think there will be very little changes in between those. But you cannot afford to have a super bad ride today. But look at this! I tell you something. This is a very smart ride by Myra Madeira here. Myra Madeira has done exactly and performed exactly as expected. She's third in the overall. She's going to take third place in the time trial as she comes through. She's ahead of Pelagio. So in category 4, personally, I expect the status quo to stay the same now. I think the big changes in position have come, and I think that is all to do about that yellow jersey. But remember, things can still go wrong, and people can still struggle to get over the line. You can have a mechanical, and that will cost you big time. So, category 4, looking like we've got the big shake-up has happened. We've got that change. Is it going to happen in the rest of our categories? As you can see, categories 1, 2, 3, and 4 all underway here now.
Well, category 3, I'll tell you who's doing a good ride today, and that is indeed Terry Tannigan. Now, we saw her time trial away from the group mat on one of the earlier stages in the competition, and she got caught in the latter stages of the final climb. So we know she is a really strong time trialer, and she can go out and pace an individual effort, and that is what she is doing here today. So Tannigan, fourth on GC, she's 18 minutes down on GC, but she is showing us that this really is her key skill. So Tanningen in 1. We're looking at the screens here. Agudelo, the youth rider, is the rider in 2 in this time trial. She's 7th on GC, so this is really interesting seeing where these riders' skill sets lie. Jenny Tan is in 3 at the moment, and she's 3rd on GC. So Carmona and Walkenhurst, 1 and 2, are not up in the top 3 at the moment in the individual time trial.
So we're just going to see Myra Madeira come in and over the line as they expected, sitting in a third place. The time gaps between the riders, we are talking sort of in the region of about 10 to 15 minutes now in between all those riders. So I think category 4 pretty much done and dusted, barring any major incidents. We'll try and keep a little bit of an eye on that. But remember, this is Terry Tandigan now. This is category 3.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm looking at the moment, and that is the battle between Walkenhurst and Carmona. So Walkenhurst went into today in 2nd on GC, 2 minutes and 3 seconds down on Carmona. Now, we would have thought that was a big enough gap, but at 25 kilometres into this race, or 24 kilometres for Walkenhurst, she's currently got a 1 minute 45 gap on Carmona. So actually, are we going to see Walkenhurst turn this over like we saw Vink turn over Loxley in category 4, or are we going to see fractions of seconds between these two going into the final stage? So I think this is all hotting up for a 1-2 battle in category 3 as well.
I think we are, and don't discount the fight between third and fourth place. Tandigan sitting in fourth place. I mean, that 2 minute gap is it's going to come down, isn't it? Because she's battling there in fourth place. Third place is going to be Jenny Tan, and Tandigan to Tan at the moment is looking like that's about 30 seconds gone out of the 2 minutes. So Tandigan needs to push on here, and she's going to close that gap down as they go through. So Tandigan to Tan, yep, 30 seconds at the moment. So that's the battles in this race. Now, time trialing is one of those things. It's one rider sitting there hitting a pace, but there's so much subtlety in here in terms of riding style, in terms of pedal cadence, heart rate, how riders are approaching the time gaps, where they're looking at making time, how much time do they make up when there is no draft. So that you might be the smartest rider in the world that's sitting in the draft, and that may well flatter your performance when you come into something like a time trial. You then get found out.
Well,
Sounds
we,
familiar,
we
actually.
often say, don't we, on the Sunday Race Club, that actually there is real no benefit of having a strong FTP. So, in terms of having the best FTP, the best 20-minute power effort, benefits you here in the time trial, but normally in a race on MyWhoosh, it doesn't, because actually using the techniques and tactics of the draft, using the techniques and the tactics of the course and gaining momentum and being in the right place at the bunch at the right time, like we've seen with the sprint efforts time and time again in these categories on the earlier stages, you know, the technique here is all about you.
It is indeed. So, category three is hotting up. We can see at the moment on the left hand side of your screen, Coyston at the moment in category two. So, let's take a look at category two. Coyston is currently your leader. She's second in the GC overall, 3 minutes 32 down on Samara Shepherd. And Coyston at the moment has opened, you ready for this, nearly 1 minute, and she's at 20k. So this is a flatter section at the end. So don't think, oh, it's 2/3 of the way done. That's the time gap's done, because this is going to suit Coistonen much more than it suits Shepherd, because remember, Shepherd took the yellow jersey. She took the time gaps and took over the lead by winning stages 4 and stages 5, which were mountainous, and it is nothing close to mountainous between Koistonen and the finish. Koistonen has got better results. You've got a second on stage 2 and stage 4, but I tell you something, this time gap, it is not over by any stretch of the imagination here, and this could set us up for a very close run in. Don't think Shepherd's going to lose the top spot, but it's going to be close. Really interesting to look at Lopez here. She's the rider in third place on the right-hand side of your screen, and Lopez is currently giving away 1 minute 11 to Koistonen, and that is a big gap. And Lopez is in third. Fourth place is only 35 seconds difference, and fourth place is Kimberly Miller, but Miller's losing big time.
Yeah, so Miller is 46 further seconds back from Lopez. So she is indeed losing more time here. And Daniel and Engstrom are in the gap there. So we just switch back into category one, and look at that gap. As we expected, we know Jojo Bauer can time trial. She has time trialed away from the pack on the Sunday Race Club regularly to win, and she has a phenomenal climb, as we saw yesterday. So Jojo Bauer doing what Jojo Bauer does. Now, the interesting bit for me here is, whilst Bauer is extending her lead, Donny Fu and Biarhead are pretty much riding in sight of each other, and this is the fight behind for the team competition. This is the risky biscuits going out and saying, we are going to win the team competition today.
Wow, really interesting, isn't it? Bauer's performance. I mean, I just some riders you just think, "Oh, I'd really love to watch them in the pain cave or in the room and see how just how smooth they are when they're putting this down. Some people, when they put down the power, ragged, they're all over the place. The bike's flying side to side. They're pulling on the bus. Other people are smooth. And in my head, I've got Jojo Bowers, this super smooth, mean machine on the bike, because she just does this in such style.
I think the tunes are going, her legs are moving, the world is happy, and Bauer is doing her own thing. That is the image I would love to keep.
Well, I think that's a great image to keep in your head, because you've got to remember there's lots of different motivation for our riders, and whatever works for you. Some people will ride along with some banging rock tune in the background, and this is another thing that. About esports and about riding on MyWhoosh, you can put what you want in the background. You can play those as loud as you want. We can take the full speed events outdoor speakers, put them all in a tiny room, and literally shake the room apart with them. And that might be what motivates you. Other people, they need silence and they want to just be uber focused on there. You can guess I'm probably in the first of those categories, to be brutally honest.
Talking about being first in the category, and that is Tandingen at the moment. She is coming up for the 1 kilometre to go mark. She's coming through that archway in the rock. She is looking as though she is going to come over the line first in this category 3 competition today. She is taking this individual time trial by the horns. Agudelu is the rider in 2, Tan in 3, and Walkenhurst in 4. And now it's Walkenhurst's time that I think is going to be the upset today, because it's all about how much time Walkenhurst can put on Carmona.
Indeed, and this is going to be really key. So Tandigan coming in and through. And I'll tell you something. Tan is on a great ride here as well. So I think this is some real good racing coming through here. Now let's take a little look. Tandigan in to the last kilometre, taking that right hand turn here. So this is the key points where she's got to really keep on squeezing. Now on the track there is a distance which is a 1 kilometre race. It's 1 kilometre the kilo. It is a race which is probably the most painful track race you can do, but that is what these riders need to do at the end here. Once they come in underneath the elephant rock, they know that's the marker that they can now start squeezing. You're not going to lose buckets of time if you blow here. You really need to get everything out. Terry Tandigan is looking on the way through. Let's see how they go. This is looking really, really, really fast. Here we go. The riders are pushing. This is Tandigan on for the line here. She's got to squeeze this out. The watts are not going up just yet. I think she wants to see that gantry. She's not relying on the distance. And is there anything left in Tandigan's legs? I think she's gone right to the limit here.
Well, she's going to come round this left-hand corner, and that banner is going to come into sight right now. She's got sight, and she's winding it up. She's winding it up to 4 watts per kilo. She's out of the saddle, nearly at 5 watts per kilo. She is pushing and squeezing on those pedals for the line. She absolutely wants every second at the moment. Every second counts. Look at that. Woohoo! Tandigan celebrates with the win in the individual time trial today.
To have the composure to push the button.
I know.
To give you the lightning bolt on the line.
She didn't try hard enough.
Now, here we go. This, for me, is possibly the rider of the day in the category, because this is Agudelo, sitting in 7th place overall. She's up there in the sprints, but I tell you something. Great ride here by Agudelo. She comes in ahead of Jenny Tan. Tan puts in another great ride here. The sprint leader goes through. Then it's Walkenhurst who's come in and through the line as well. So we're going to get those time checks. Emma frantically scrolling through the results screen here. Let's take a look at those time gaps and what they mean in our overall.
Well, look at this. This is close today in this category 3 competition. So Tandigan taking the win in the individual time trial in 52 minutes, 48 seconds. Agudelo in 2, 19 seconds back. Tan in 3, 24 seconds back. And Walkenhorst in 4th, 28 seconds back. But the key thing here is going to be that time gap between Walkenhurst and our yellow jersey wearer, Carmona. 2:03. The difference at the start of today. At the last time check, we had a 1:45 second gap. So that is going to be absolutely key to see who goes into yellow overnight and whether Walkenhurst can take that jersey from Carmona.
Well, you can just see we've got Carolus on your screen. She's 7 seconds ahead of Carmona. Carmona on the right-hand side of your screen. They are on that run towards the finish. Looking very, very interesting. This. Now it's going to be nail-biting time. This is time to squeeze it out, but not to panic. Panic and go into the red today, but you could be paying the price tomorrow. So this is a really mental game, and this is one of the reasons why the time trial is known as the race of truth.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carolus now coming into the final 400 meters. Carmona is hot on her wheels. She is coming to that point shortly. She's got 400 meters to go. Carmona now, she's 6 seconds back from Carolus. It is going to be all about the final part of this individual time trial from Carmona, but Carolus putting in a good time today.
So here we go. Carolus is in there. And I'll tell you something, she's going to be acting as a carrot for Carmona. Carmona is going to have Carolus in her sights, and Carmona chasing is going to be key. So Carolus on the way in to the line. Good ride by her today. She's not going to figure, I think, in the top 10, but she will have pulled herself up through the standings. She's done a great job here today. Clearly smooth all the way into the line, picking up the pace towards the end. Now, Carolus is in and over the line. Immediately behind, coming to the line, comes Carmona. So Maria Carmona comes in and through the line. Then it's going to be Constantine we're going to look at, but Carmona's time, we wait for that to come up on the screen. That's going to be critical in category 3.
Absolutely, it is indeed.
So we're going to take a look. Here we go. Category 3 on your screen. 2 minutes 55 from Tandigan to Carmona, and that is a substantial time gap. The ride, though, that counts is going to be the ride from Walkenhurst to Carmona. Emma, bring us the news.
Well, I think by looking at that, Matt, it was 2 minutes and 3 seconds separating Walkenhurst and Carmona this morning, with Carmona in 1 and Walkenhurst in 2. I think we are going to see a switch of that jersey tomorrow, and it is going to be on Walkenhurst's shoulders going into the final stage.
All right, fantastic. Still seeing big switches. We're seeing changes. We are seeing people moving through position on the time trial. It may be a short stage, but a critical stage here on the women's race. Stage number 6 of 7 in the MyWhoosh Championships. Don't forget, of course, you can look back at all of our previous stages on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because, of course, even when we finish the championship, we'll be back very quickly indeed because the Sunday Race Club kicks off. Guess when? On Sunday. Not that I
Yeah,
know what day it is at all today because I'm on stage 6
it
day.
is. I want to
Yeah.
say, I had to pause then. It's Thursday today. Now, if you want to join us on the Sunday Race Club, if you've been watching the MyWhoosh Championships and you think this looks really good fun, come and head over to mywhoosh.com. You will find all you need to know on the events page about the Sunday Race Club. The race manual is there, the technical guide is there, the frequently asked questions is there, and your entry button is there as well. Come and join us. All 4 categories take place on the Sunday Race Club as well. So there is racing for everybody, regardless of your ability. And you will be able to line up against some of the riders you have watched on the MyWhoosh Championships over the last 7 days.
Indeed, you will. Now, we have our leaders in category 2 on the right of your screen, leader in category 1 on the left of your screen. This is, of course, Mina Koivunen in the green, and in the yellow it is Jojo Bauer. 2 different riders riding for 2 very different reasons in a lot of ways. Bauer in the yellow jersey of the leader, the expected hot favourite, looking to maximise her time gap going into the last stage. Koivunen is the rider who is looking to make a change, looking to upset the apple cart, and looking to depose Samara Shepherd, who is the rider who is currently leading. Shepherd to Koivunen. We thought at the start of the stage, Emma and I were talking as we prepped in the office, ready to go into the studio. We were talking about this and saying, yeah, it's kind of game over and it's not going to get close. And you know what? I was so wrong about that.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? So Constantine went in second place today. Today's stage, Shepherd in first. The gap 3:32, so really quite significant. But we say that Koivunen is nearly a minute and a half up on Shepherd at the moment. 3 kilometres left to go, so she needs to push on and see if she can't gain a little bit more and close that gap down going into the final stage tomorrow. Now, one of the interesting things for me, Matt, is 3rd and 4th, because 3rd place coming into this was Lopez. She was 1 minute 4 seconds down on Koivunen, but Koivunen is significantly in front of her today. Now, in 4th place was Kimberly Miller. And I think Miller is behind Lopez. So even though there was only a 35-second gap there, I don't think that is going to be challenged.
I don't think so. And I think we're going to see the only gap really coming down is between 1st and 2nd, and then all the rest of the gaps opening up if it continues like this. But remember, anything can happen in the last few kilometres. So, Mina Koivunen, the leader in category 2, to just under 2.5 kilometres to the finish. Remember that key markers where they really have to pull it out is on that last section in to the finish. And get right. They don't need to lose time by putting the time in, by putting the power in on the way through. So let's see how they go. The riders should hopefully have this absolutely dialed. No need to pick up gels, no need to pick up fuel in the last few K. You've got to be able to dig in deep and you've got to not lose time. So the ability to eat and feed on the move is going to be really key.
Well, this is going to be around a 50-minute effort, I think, for these category 2 women. But Shepherd is picking up the pace here in 2 at the moment. Constantine continuing to push on. She's now over that climb. She's about to go onto the descent. Shepherd well and truly on the climb at the moment. She's on the early stages of the climb, and you can see that she's pushing on. She's pushing on quite substantially. She's over 5 watts per kilo at the moment. So Shepherd trying to push on now and utilize the latter stages of this time trial. So Shepherd currently sat in 2 on this individual time trial in our category 2 race. Constantine is the rider leading. She's 1 minute 20 up the road. Now it is the other way round on GC. Shepherd in the yellow jersey, Constantine in 2 with a 3 minute 32 gap. This gap going to come down overnight going into the final stage, but just how much is it going to come down by? Because Shepherd has now got the bit between her teeth and she's pushing on.
And we talked about negative splits early on in the program, didn't we, Emma? And about having a faster second half. Well, this, I think, is not so much negative splits, but a pull out at the finish, knowing at what point you can put everything out. Riders will know I can do 4K flat out. I can do 2.5K flat out. I can wind from 5K at this pace, at 4 at a bigger pace, at 3 at a bigger pace, knowing your finishing power and how you can let that finish unfold to its maximum effect. I think this is Samara Shepherd now showing that she's absolutely got this dialed.
Well, that is indeed Shepherd going past one of our category 3 back markers. She's not quite Coisnan. Coisnan is further down the road. Coisnan is now up to 800 metres before she sees the finish line in front of her. It's a downhill run at the moment. So Shepherd pushing on 5.2 watts per kilo. Coisnan moving forward 5.4 watts per kilo. These two are absolutely battling it out for seconds here. This is a really exciting finish to this category 2 time trial.
It is indeed. Look at this now. Koistonen really is pushing on. Let's see if she can take this out to the finishing line. She's got to keep winding now. This is that run through. 500 meters to go. She's past the elephant rod the Shepherd had approached, but this is about getting the power. 5 watts per kilo we're seeing, and Shepherd is already up at the similar power level a bit further back down the course. So Koistonen's speed is picking up here. She's at 41, now 42 kilometers per hour. The gantry comes into sight. That finish line comes into sight quite late here, and that means that it's going to be easy to get caught out and not push all the way at maximum pace and have a little bit left. The worst thing after a time trial is having something left at the end, wishing you'd put it down on the course. So this is the kick. This is the run. She's out of the saddle here, 70 revs per minute. She's kicking at nearly 6 watts per kilo at the end of this time trial. It's going to be Koistonen taking the win in category 2 here in the stage. She's going to take away the stage prize. Will she have pulled back enough? Here comes Shepherd, and Shepherd has absolutely rocketed on.
Yeah, Shepherd is pushing now because the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking to Coisnan, who is already over the line. It was a 3 minute 32 gap at the beginning of today. It is going to be a smaller gap tomorrow going on the start line of the final stage. But how small will it be? That is all now down to Samara Shepherd as she continues to push towards the line. So she's got 450 metres to go, and the clock is ticking for Shepherd as Shepherd continues to push on. She's at 4.8 watts per kilo. She is trying to push through those pedals and give it all that she's got. Her cadence is at 73. She is pushing a big gear. She's continuing to push, but she's not got that banner in sight yet.
So here we go. Come on, Shepherd. This is a kick in. I tell you, this is some defense of that yellow jersey. She has kept Koistonen in her sight. She knew that her challenger was fighting against her, that she was putting everything down. But Shepherd has saved the best till last. Her last 5 kilometers here today have been at an absolute rocket speed. She's going to come through. She is going to take a second place on the stage. She has done enough, I think, to hold on to that yellow jersey.
Well, I think you might be right, Matt, but I am not sure at the moment. We are going to see in a minute when that comes up. Let's take a look at that result. So 1 minute 24 back to Shepherd from Coisnan. The gap is halved, but it is still Shepherd in yellow.
Hit back in, let me in. Here we go. Is Jenny Daniel on the way in? I've managed to jump on for one last run into the finish. Jenny Daniel with a great ride here. It is going to be Daniel who comes through ninth in the overall. Then it's going to be Eggstrom coming through. I'll tell you something, Jenny Daniel's done a great ride here, but Eggstrom has tried to keep her in check.
Well, Daniel has done a phenomenal ride, and I think Daniel will benefit from that and move up on GC overnight. But it is going to be really interesting to see. Hermassen is going to be the next rider through. Hermassen riding a strong race. She's fifth on GC, and she's continuing to push on now. Hermassen comes over the line. Matt, you are going to head off now and start the men's race. I am going to join you in a short while. Let's just leave those results on the screens for our viewers whilst you leave the studio. So Matt has left the studio to get over to Studio 2 and start the men's race. I will be joining him shortly once the women's time trial is over. Our Category 2 results on the screen in front of you. Koistinen taking that win in the individual time trial today. 1 minute 24 from Shepherd. Not enough to close the gap, but enough to create a smaller gap going in between 1 and 2 tomorrow. Jenny Daniel putting in a really strong ride. 9th on GC coming into this and 3rd today in 51 minutes and 4 seconds. Phenomenal riding from Daniel. Strong women, Engstrom in 4th, Lopez in 5, Hermassen in 6th, Zimmerman 7th, and Kimberly Miller in 8th at the moment over the line. Now, these time gaps, it's going to be really interesting to see what that does to GC overnight, because there were some small gaps in that down in the top 10. Now, we've seen Category 4, we've seen Category 2, we've seen Category 3. This is Category 1 now. Jojo Bauer made her intention clear from the start, and she went out from the start pen. She is the leader on GC, wearing the yellow jersey, and she's got an 8-minute 20 gap back to Brogan, her teammate, in 2. Now, this is Chiara Donny. So Donny, Fua, Marin, and Brogan Arhead are the riders behind Bauer. Donny from the Risky Biscuits team, absolutely riding a storming race here today, a storming time trial from Donny. Now the team competition all to play for in this category, and Risky Biscuits with Arhead, Donny, and Fua absolutely central to that team. So this is Donny, Fua, and Arhead stamping their authority on the team competition today, whilst Bauer continues to push and continues to show her dominance in the category. Bauer is in 1, over a minute in the lead at the moment. As she celebrates her position, she's got to get over the line tomorrow, but she is working hard to get over the line today. She's coming up for 5 kilometers left in this time trial today, and she is showing us what we know. Well, those of us who watch the Sunday Race Club know she can time trial. So Bauer continuing to time trial her way from the group in Category 1. Donny in 2, putting in a storming performance. So Chiara Donny currently 5th on GC. She is currently at 19 minutes down on Bauer in 1, but she is part and parcel of that Risky Biscuit squad. That Risky Biscuit squad currently dominating the team competition because the quality in that team is outstanding. So Donny currently the leading rider from that team, and in 2nd place at the moment. In 3rd, we see Fua. Fua is indeed the teammate of Donny from that Risky Biscuit squad. She's got Marin just on her heels. So Marin having a strong ride from Forza Donna. Marin just sitting on the rear wheel of Fua. So 1 Bauer, 2 Donny, 3 Fua, 4 Marin, as they just continue to trade places. And in 5th position at the moment on the time trial is Gemma Brogan. Brogan 2nd on GC. She's 8 minutes 20 down on Bauer. That is going to be stretched today, but she is 3 minutes 55 clear of 3rd place. Now 3rd place on GC, Geraldo Areas. She is further down this time trial. In fact, closest to Brogan is Fua, and That gap is looking at around, oh, she says, doing some very quick maths, around 7 minutes. So not enough gap separating Fua from Brogan, even though Fua is down the road, only around 17 seconds. So not going to change the overall GC. I think we are going to see 1, 2, 3, and 4 remain the same at least. We might see 5 pulling back a little bit of time because Donny is in 5th place on GC, but she is indeed in 2nd in this individual time trial at the moment. It's not going to change the positions, but it might change the time gaps between. As we see Brogan, she's 2nd on GC. She's currently sitting in 5th on the time trial today. She's coming up for just over 5 kilometers to go. So Bauer is on the left-hand side of your screen. She is our yellow jersey wearer in category 1. 2nd place on GC, Gemma Brogan. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see there is some significant distance between them. Brogan currently in 5th position at the moment in the time trial. Bauer is in 1. We are looking at 1 and 2, but this is the ride in between those. So Donny, Marin and Fua. Marin has just indeed overtaken Fua in this last 5K. 5 kilometers just under to go as we see Marin now leading Fua. So Marin now in 3rd position in this individual time trial. Fua 4th, Brogan 5th, Biarhead 6th, Carvajal in 7. So Bauer, Donny, Marin, Fua, Brogan, Biarhead, Carvajal riding strongly today. So these riders continue to push. We are seeing these riders continue to work as Bauer pushes on. She's now in the final 3 kilometers to go. She is continuing to push. So Matt has been unable to miss the conclusion of this category 1 race, and he has double checked the time in the other studio for the start of the men's race. He has come back because this is just an absolute corker of a stage today. So back to take the final category through the finish line with me is indeed Matt Payne.
Yes, I have literally sprinted retail. I didn't go this whole nose time trialing. Brilliant racing here, and I'm loving the fact that we've got Chiara Donny on an absolutely storming ride here. Bauer is absolutely powering, but look at Donny. I mean, this is really, really interesting, isn't it, in terms of that category 1 race?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bauer extending her lead in this category 1 race. She's got 1 minute 39 at the moment over 2nd place, which is Chiara Donny. Donny riding a storming individual time trial today for the Risky Biscuit squads. Her teammates just behind her. So Fua is there and Biarhead is there. They are up in the front section of this group as we see Bauer on the left-hand side. Bauer coming up now with 2 kilometers to go. Donny a little bit further back, coming in with 3 kilometers to go in this race. But it is all to play for now, not just in the individual competition, but the team competition as well.
Indeed, and I think that's, as you said, Emma, is what the Risky Biscuits are looking to set up here. And Brogan, I think, knows that she was pretty secure where she was. Was the gap back from Donny to Brogan going to be very interesting to see where they are relatively. So we're going to see how that goes. But let's take a look. Bauer is on some form here. I'll tell you something. Absolutely class athlete. Donny looking really, really good and really is powering on at the moment. Marin is right behind, Fur behind, and I don't think they're going to change the positions of the teams within their own team, but they could cement that team finish, couldn't they?
Absolutely, and I think that's what that definitely is about. Now we've got big time gaps after those mountain stages in category 1 on the women. 8 minutes 20 back to 2nd, then another 3:55 back to 3rd, then another 2 minutes 30 back to 4th, 3 minutes 17 back to 5th, 4 minutes 45 back to 6th. So the time gaps are huge, but you are quite correct, Matt. The team competition is what this ride really is all about. Plus, obviously, individual, just for the self.
Well, there is, and I think that psychologically, coming into the very last stage here, you can set yourselves up for a great final stage. The Risky Biscuits team are going to come out of this going, we are the business. We are not broken. Well, there's no risk of that. We are in one piece. We're a whole
You
biscuit.
mean they're
We've
not
got cream
broken
on top.
biscuits, they're
They
risky
they are
biscuits.
risky biscuit, and they are absolutely going to come into that last stage thinking we have this now. And so is Jojo Bauer. Jojo Bauer's got to come out this going, do you know what? I have nothing left to prove. I have taken wins on stage two when we had the steep slopes. I've taken a win on the mountain stages, on stages 4 and 5, and I've taken the win in the time trial. What's left for me to prove?
Yeah, absolutely. She really is an all round athlete, and she is showing us that through all of the stages on the MyWhoosh Championships. We may be on stage 6, this may be the individual time trial, but Bauer has shown us that she can climb, whether it is seriously steep or whether it is a long 11-kilometer climb. She has that ability. She's got that climbing ability, and she's got this time trialing ability as well. She really is a great stage racer.
Indeed, and that's what you would look for as an all-round athlete, as an all-round rider. And Jojo Bauer, the next rider who will be coming in to finish in to the line here. She comes round. She's got 300 meters to go. She knows she doesn't need to sprint. And for me, I don't think I would be at this stage. I think I would be looking to come out of today with my legs in tip-top condition for tomorrow. She's set a nice pace all the way through here, and I don't think doing any damage is really needed. She may well just do it just because she can, I think, and lift the pace just because that's what you always do at the end of a stage.
Well, she can see that finish banner now as Jojo Bauer comes through for the individual time trial win in category 1. We are stage 6 of the MyWhoosh Championships, and Bauer is your winner today in that individual time trial, taking it through in 47 minutes.
Yeah, number one indeed as she comes through now. Kiara Donny are doing a great job here. She comes around that right hand turn and has held yes, what is a very respectable gap, I think, to Jojo Bauer there. So Kiara Donny today on form. I'll tell you something. I've been watching the social media feeds, and don't forget, please, guys, get in touch with us on social media at Biking Emma, at Matt Fix the Pain, at MyWhoosh. Let us know what you're getting up to, because it really does let us get an insight into how you're doing, how good you're going. Kiara Donny today, absolutely superb performance, and really showing the promise that we've seen time and time again on the Sunday Race Club.
Oh, absolutely. You know, these are world-class esports riders that we are watching in front of us today. You know, Bauer, Donny, Fua, Marin, Biarhead, these riders, absolute class. And Donny just showing us that again. Let's not forget, this is stage 6 of 7 over an 8-day stage race, and Donny putting in a storming performance today in this 30-kilometer time trial. She is coming up for the last 100 meters. She can see that finish banner in front of us, and she continues to put the power down. She's just lifting the pace a little bit to push out the final few seconds of this course as she comes over in second place.
Great second place for Kiara Donny. I am going to go head back to the studio. I'm going to let Emma take you through the finish of Marin and Fua. Very close between these two.
It is indeed. So Matt really has left the studio now, and he won't be coming back because that men's race is going to start very, very shortly. But as you can see from his return, it has been absolutely a phenomenal day in this women's racing today. This individual time trial has given us absolutely on the edge racing in this MyWhoosh Championships, as we look at Marin come through for third place in this category 1 race, sub 50 minutes, fantastic time. Fua on her heels, sub 50 minutes as well. So Fua coming through in fourth place, Marin in third. Biarhead will be the next rider to finish. That is Biarhead is the teammate of Fua and Donny, the Risky Biscuits, putting in a storming team performance today. So 200 meters to go from Biarhead. She's going to swing round this bend, and then she is going to see that finish line. It comes very, very late in terms of sighting it for our riders today, but Biarhead is going to be the next rider through in this individual time trial, and she is going to round out the top 3 for the Risky Biscuits. So Biarhead comes through in fifth place in this individual time trial. This is the category 1 competition And we can see there in front of us, Jojo Bauer taking the win, 47 minutes and 38 seconds. 1 minute 30 back, Chiara Donny, 49.08. Third place for Daniela Marin, 49.53, 2:15 back. Fua comes through in fourth, 2:20 back. And Bjarhead rounding out the top five, and third counter for the Risky Biscuits, coming in 50 minutes 38, 3 minutes exactly behind the leader, Jojo Bauer. So it is going to be interesting overnight once our results are verified and we can see the GC coming into the race tomorrow, not just in category 1, but in category 2, 3, and 4 as well, because we have seen what we think are going to be upsets on that GC in this individual time trial today. And we will indeed see in some of our categories the jerseys changing hands. Now, that will lead us into a really great stage 7. Stage 7 is the final stage of the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. 2 short Cat 4 climbs to sort out the mountains competition. We've got 5 sprints and, of course, the finish to sort out the sprint competition and the GC overall. And it is being set up beautifully by our individual time trial today. So on the screens in front of you, we are just watching our riders in this category 1 race come through. Tijeras and Julie Sanchez are neck and neck, side by side in this team time trial at the moment. We have then got on the right hand side of your screen, a few hundred meters behind, Jenny Sanchez here on the competition today. Now, Jenny Sanchez, the leader currently in that sprint competition, putting in a good time trial performance, but they are out of the top 5 in this individual time trial. So Jenny Sanchez behind Julie Sanchez, behind Tijeras. Carvajal from the Risky Biscuits was the next rider in 6th place. So phenomenal riding by the Risky Biscuits. 4 riders in the top 6 in the time trial today. Tijeras here is pushing on in front of Julie Sanchez. They are going to see the finish line next. They are going to take this right-hand bend. They will then take a left-hand bend, and the finish line will be there in front of them. It's a very late spot on this course today. So very mindful of the riders and their pacing to that finish line, seeing it only within the last 200 meters. So Julie Sanchez following Annalyn Tijeras here on the individual time trial. This is category 1. This is the final category to finish today. So Tijeras looks up and sees that finish banner. She pushes on. Look at that. There's a push now coming at 5 watts per kilo from Tijeras. Julie Sanchez is pushing behind as well. But can Tijeras keep this gap? It's just 2 seconds back to Sanchez. But Tijeras is going to come over the line in 7th position today. Julie Sanchez in 8th. Jenny Sanchez will be the next rider through. So Jenny Sanchez will be the next rider to finish in this individual time trial. So Jenny Sanchez with the final 200 meters to go. She is pushing on here. She's going to sweep round this left-hand bend, and she is going to see that finish line in front of her. So Jenny Sanchez now the next rider to finish in this category 1 race. So Jenny Sanchez from the Golden Wheels. It has definitely been the sprint squad this stage race, and they have absolutely dominated in those sprints. Jenny Sanchez, 103 points in that competition. So Jenny Sanchez, the last rider, coming over on our screens there behind Julie Sanchez for 9th place in this category 1 race. Let's just take us through those category 1 standings today. So category 1, this is stage 6, the individual time trial overall results. Jojo Bauer coming through in 1, 47 minutes 38, taking the win in the time trial today. Chiara Donny in 2, Daniela Marin in 3, Catherine Fua in 4, Marlena Bjarhead in 5, Milena Carvajal in 6th, Annalyn Tijeras in 7th, Julie Sanchez in 8th, and Jenny Sanchez, her teammate, in 9th. Now, you can head over to mywhoosh.com/results. These results on your screen are live. The verification process will, of course, take place, and then those results will become official on that website once verified. Wow, that was stage 6, the individual time trial in the women's race, and it has given us some phenomenal racing. And I think we will see those jerseys change hands in some of those categories before the start of the final stage tomorrow. So stage 7 tomorrow is indeed the final stage of the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. It is going to be a cracker. Two category 4 sprints. Let me start again. 2 category 4 climbs, 5 sprints. I'm so excited I cannot get my words out because this is lining up to be epic. So do not miss out. Tune in for stage 7. My name's Emma Martin. I have been with you today. I will be with you tomorrow. Matt Payne joined before the finish. He's off and started the men's race. That's where I am heading now. He will be with us for the start of stage 7 tomorrow. Stay safe, enjoy your riding. From all the team at MyWhoosh and myself, of course, we will see you tomorrow for a cracking final stage of the MyWhoosh Championships. Goodbye.